Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shama Rahman, Marketing Manager for the New York Times live conversation series TimesTalks and our new film series ScreenTimes, which hosts exclusive screenings of the most anticipated movies, television shows, documentaries, indies, and more. I'm delighted to welcome you to tonight's post-screening conversation with Call Me By Your Name's director Luca Guadagnino and lead actors Armie Hammer, Timothée Chalamet, and Michael Stuhlbarg. Moderating the conversation... Moderating the conversation and all events in our Screen Time series is veteran Times reporter and self-proclaimed film fanatic Logan Hill. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Logan Hill, Luca Guadagnino, Armie Hammer, Timothée Chalamet, and Michael Stuhlbarg.
That's awesome. That's so sick.
No offense to our other films, but I think that's the first standing O we've gotten. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Because this is a new thing we're doing here at Times Talks. This is just our fourth film we've screened, and it's such a great pleasure to get a film this good to help us kick this series off. So thanks for being here. And thanks, we've got folks watching on Facebook at their laptops and phones and whatnot. So thank you for watching that way. We'll be taking a few of their questions a little bit later. And then I'll be, I guess, asking the rest. You have had a busy year.
We've been basically doing this since Sundance.
Yeah.
In January. I just did the math outside. I think we've spent 4.25 times as much promoting the movie as we actually spent shooting it.
Are you just bored at a certain... There must be certain points where you're just desperately bored talking. No?
No.
No, you're thrilled. It's always thrilling.
We get to be together again.
Yeah.
The gang's reunited.
Yeah.
You do seem to be getting along really well. You have made a very long journey to get here to this stage from 3 blocks away.
Yeah, I grew up 3 blocks from here, so this is a big moment. Got my parents are somewhere in the back, so where are the Facebook people, just to know? Where's the
I
camera?
think there's a camera right up there.
Right there, okay, cool.
Yeah, you're gonna play to them?
I just want to play to them a little bit,
It's, I thought we'd give you a little context on the film first, and we'll get into some other stuff. But Luca, the history of this film is interesting. We complain a lot about Hollywood making only sequels and superhero movies and all this stuff. But the flip side of it is how hard it is to get a film like this made. And this film is one of those other films that almost didn't get made. And certainly almost didn't get made with you as the director. Do you want to give us the brief prehistory? How we get here?
Briefly, it never was meant to be my movie, actually.
Yeah.
We tried many avenues. The one which I feel sorry we didn't succeed in making is the one by James Ivory directing it. Can we applaud the great... Yeah. Because before I was involved, there was another director. Then I was asked to be a consultant because the book is set in Italy and I'm Italian. And so they wanted to know from a Italian filmmaker standpoint, how was to make the movie there. That possibility didn't come to fruition. And a few years later, Peter Spears and I, Peter is one of the producers of the movie and the originator of this project as a producer, along with Howard Roseman. We went to talk to James Ivory. I met him at the time in which he made The White Countess, and he has been friends with Peter since a long time. And we thought, maybe this would be a great thing for James to do. And James and we found immediately connected with the idea of starting again on the material. So we went back and forth from my place in Crema, where we shot the movie eventually, and his place here. Mm-hmm. And in over a year of almost like a sort of play, it wasn't like a job. We wrote the script, particularly he wrote the script, and we ended up having something that people responded very highly for. And so we thought, good, we have a movie. We have a director, we have a script, we have producers. But in fact, it wasn't really that. And after a couple of years in really a lot of avenues tried and all the avenues never came to fruition, there was a sense of maybe a much smaller version of this film can happen if I direct it. And that was when I said, okay, let's do it, because it was like 9 years in trying to make it. James blessed the possibility of me doing it, and here we are.
Yeah. I wonder, when you take over a project like that, and you must have in your mind another vision of the film that almost got made. I feel like there's almost these kind of ghost versions of films out there.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think about that? Does it hover over you for a little while before it dissipates?
Well, once you do it, I think no, because the embodiment of the movie you made, the people you made the movie with, basically completely canceled the possibility of the other ones you dreamt or you thought about. But for a director, it's true that for as much movies he or she made, there are the same number of movies never made that are as if they're made. Yeah.
And let's talk about putting this great cast together. I know that you didn't do a chemistry read with these two before. Why not? And what's your process in casting all three of these folks?
I didn't do the DNA test of Michael to see if he was the father. I mean, but he was the perfect father. Yeah. This thing about I don't know. I don't. Is there actors in the room tonight? I don't believe in auditions. I think it's stupid.
Why? Why are they stupid?
I love you for that, by the way.
You don't like auditions, right?
They're the worst. The worst.
You met first of all, in decreasing order, you have the body of work to look at, how many years they've been working. And then you have the meeting with the person, which is the most important thing. Because if you don't click with the person, why bother in spending a month, 2 months working daily on such an intimate thing as creating the life of other people, So for me, that is it. I met Armie. I think Armie is my longest relationship on this movie, because we met in 2010, something like that.
This is a good story.
When he did the Social Network, I thought there were two actors for a while.
Did you ever figure that out?
We had a meeting, and it was fantastic. He was in LA, and he said, "I want you to come, and I want you to come to my place, and we'll sit and we'll talk." And I said, "Great, I love your work. I'd love to." So we went and we sat, and it turned into like a 4-hour meeting where we talked about movies, and we talked about literature, and we talked about art, and we talked about philosophy, we talked about food, we talked about just everything.
I remember there were also like silences in complete comfort.
Yeah. There would be times where no one said anything. We just kind of sat, and then we just kind of, and it was amazing. And I walked out of there, and like a typical actor, I was just like, I fucking nailed that meeting. And then I didn't hear anything from Luca for 6.5 years. And then he called one day and he's like, I've got a new movie. And I was like, I'm in.
Almost.
I mean, he had to talk me into it, but yes, I'm in.
Yeah. I love stories about actors who really sacrifice for their craft, who go through grueling processes getting ready for a film. You two really dug deep and sacrificed. You went to northern Italy.
I was like, where's he going with this?
Tell me a little bit about that difficult time.
No, it was a dream come true. You get to spend a month and a half in northern Italy just in the preparation for the film. And for me, it was doing Italian lessons every day and piano lessons and guitar lessons. And I was working out too, so I could be presentable in the movie. And yeah, like you said, when else would an opportunity like this come across the table?
Yeah. And where did that idea come from? Was that your idea to end up over there? Or
no, that was totally Luca's idea. I was doing a play in New York called Prodigal Son at Manhattan Theater Club that John Patrick Shanley wrote and directed. And Luca told me, the day I finished that play, I should go out to Italy because I would just get a sense of the town. And it didn't make sense to me at the time. And then at the conclusion of the movie, it was so crucial because in Luca's movies, the towns are the character are a character, and I was able to become one with it. And if we shot this movie a day after getting off the plane from New York, it would have been like manic and stressed. So yeah.
Yeah. And how about the two of you? Talk a little bit about how you sort of begin working on a part like this.
Oh my goodness. Well, for me, my character's a Latin and Greek scholar. He's dabbles in archaeology and art history. He speaks fluent Italian. There's a whole bunch of stuff there to work on. And to make it believable coming out of your mouth,
Yeah.
But in terms of chemistry with these guys, it's just, I don't know, we all hit it off immediately and just sort of, oh, it's so nice to meet you, just yak. But no, it's character-wise, it's a lot to digest and a lot to think about and to work on, but a privilege, absolute privilege.
We were also the only native English speakers in the town of Crema. So if we wanted to have a conversation beyond, ciao, come stai, tutto bene, 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 then we all just hung out together and we had meals and we rehearsed, and Timmy and I would, when we'd finish work, we'd go out to dinner together and we'd ride our bikes to go get food, and after that we'd go back to his place or go back to my place and work on our scenes for the next day, or watch movies, watch documentaries, listen to music, and it all just came from a place of having the luxury of spending time together, because the same way the movie has this really relaxed feeling where it just lets everything live. And the best example of that is there's one shot where Timmy and I ride on bicycles past the camera and we just keep riding and we keep riding and we keep riding and we keep riding. And any American filmmaker would have been like, okay, I need that time to go somewhere else, so cut there and the blah, 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 blah. But Luca was just like, no, let them ride. Let the audience see these two guys just go. And it's just a wonderful way that this movie was allowed to breathe. And in the same way, the production of it was just allowed to breathe. It felt really relaxed and it felt like a vacation.
And I feel like that's something I often don't feel in an adaptation of a novel, right? There's always that thing with a novel where you're trying to cram in as much as you can from the book. How did you deal with that? Like, knowing that you just had to winnow it down.
I think Jim and I wanted definitely not to go in that route. We wanted to keep the essence of the book in terms of the ideals that were in the book. We definitely made the decision to go away from one of the most important foundations of the book, which is the idea that is a Proustian remembrance of things past. In fact, this movie is in present time. It happens when things happen. There is not a retrospective gaze on what you see.
And why is that important to you, that it doesn't
Well,
feel
because I wanted to be immersed with Oliver and Elio, Mr. Perlman, and everybody else, instead of being driven by the consciousness of a third party or of the narrator in another position in time. Mm-hmm. It was important that we grow with them, that the suspense of what's going to happen to these two boys and the rest of the people in the movie happens to be displayed while growing. Mm-hmm. That was important. I felt it was more cinematic.
Yeah. Was Crema as cinematic as it looked? I mean, obviously it wasn't that cinematic, but is it as gorgeous as it seems?
Yeah. Pretty much is, but the shot that Armie was referring to earlier, where we ride off in the distance, those bikes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the camera was set up right next to a trash processor for that shot. But I might be wrong. Luca's giving me a look there.
No, I live in Crema, and three-quarters of the people come say, why do you live in here? And 1/4 of the people say, okay, that's cool. Yeah. It's photogenic, let's say that.
Yeah. You're developing a reputation, as the quote in the film is so incredibly sensual, which basically reads like one of your reviews. Everybody, I think is breaking out sensuality as sort of your go-to. How do you feel the book be sort of let me see if I can find some of these quotes here. We've got, we had something today. I think in today's Times piece, there's a quote saying to ravish all five senses. Variety called the film ravishingly sensual. Justin Chang called you one of the great sensualists of contemporary cinema. So, yeah. If you're going to be named for something,
in another decade, I would give my number to the other.
How do you build that? If that's something that people are really responding to, right? How do you build that in a film? Like
I don't know. It's not a conscious decision. I think we are doing a movie about the boy falling in love with one another and also discovering sexuality not only between one another but with other people and things like pitches. So, like, how cannot you be sensual?
Yeah. Well, we got to talk about the peach. If this is Proustian, that's the Madeleine, right? You want to tell us a little bit about how you got ready for the peach scene and learned? I've seen a lot of peach emoji coming out.
Yeah, I'm milking it for all it's worth.
Yeah.
I've been looking for a project for a really long time where I could have sex with a fruit, and
they didn't cast you in Girls Trip?
No. And I was too young for American Pie when that came out. I was like 3 or 4. But no, the idea with that scene, I know Luca and André Aciman, who wrote the novel, there was an idea that maybe it worked better as a literary metaphor than it ever could on film. So there was a certain relaxation in doing it where I thought, if this doesn't work, it just won't be in the movie. Right. So, and luckily,
Yeah, makes it through.
Yeah.
How do you, this film, I was at the Sundance premiere. It's one of those exciting movies you see. You have no idea what you're about to see, and then you leave hoping a film like this has a life afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. For you, how's the last 11 months kind of just changed your sense of what's possible? This is crazy.
Yeah, it's been absolutely crazy, and I'm pinching myself a lot, but I got an awesome older brother and a role model here in Armie, and I
have a feeling he's going to get you for that.
Yeah. And there was something a little strange because we premiered at Sundance, and we went to Berlin right after too, and it was a really great welcome. And then there was like a 4 or 5 month pause, and Armie and Michael go on and live and Luca lives on their superstar director actor lives, and I was like riding the subway like getting yelled at by crazy people. but no, it's super satisfying now that it's coming out, and it feels like finally. I'm excited for people to see it.
Have you guys? Do you feel like obligated to give this young guy some advice over the past month?
I'm asking him for advice. I mean, we all saw the performance. There's nothing I feel like I can teach him.
Stand up. Stand up.
Thank you.
Except maybe some dance moves.
By the way, this is the truth.
Should they dance, the 2 of them?
Timmy is the best dancer in this room. I guarantee. I was doing that scene, and I don't know if I think there was like a light smattering of actors over there when you asked for those actors. But when you shoot a dance scene, it's completely silent. There's no music, there's nothing going on, and it's just a bunch of people staring at you while you're like jumping around and being like, oh yeah, no, I'm having the best time of my life. And meanwhile, the crew's looking at you like the focus puller's like, bro, it's 3 a.m. We've been here for 8 hours. Can you finish this already? And anytime that I was just like, I can't do this anymore, please let this be over. I'd look over, and Timmy would just be like dancing, like over on the side of the dance floor by himself. And I mean, you should watch him. Should we dance? Should we get some like the? Yeah. Don't do.
This will be our first Times Talk dance off.
Okay.
Oh no! Oh no!
Go back. No. You said it's the first time, right?
That is a first. It is a first. Even Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren didn't do that?
She didn't dance.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was not the best, by the way. You can be better. Sorry.
You can see better on YouTube, though, right? This has been another thing that's been great for both of you. Your dances have both gone viral. I feel like, how does it feel to have your high school, LaGuardia High School videos discovered and shared online? You didn't see that.
Nobody over there knew about that. There's like a couple people over here that knew about that.
The ones that got here early.
No, it's like, at first it's like mortifying, and the first thought is like, okay, well, how am I going to get people to unsee this? And then you think, oh no, you can't do this. Isn't Men in Black. You can't do that. And but then after that, there's like a certain relief, I must say, because I feel a certain pressure, like in a Luca movie that's so well received, and James Ivory's on the screenplay. I feel like I need to like develop a British accent or something, or like become very like thespian-like. And now it's nice because people know I'm a fucking goofball, so it's fine.
Armie, were you surprised to see your dancing go sort of all over the internet?
Like Timmy, I was just mortified.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have to like stay away for a little while.
I literally got off Twitter because of it. I was like, I can't. I'm done.
Be back?
No.
Be back.
No.
I get messages all the time. Tell Armie to come back. Tell Armie to come back.
On a more serious note, they miss you so much. On a more serious note, I'm curious about what the experience is like of living with a film like this for 11 months, like talking about it for 11 months, taking it from festival to festival, but also having, backstage, I think we had at least 2 people tell you they bawled and cried while watching it today. How does it, does it change, does your sense of what this film means to people change as you take it out into the world and get that feedback? Do you see the things that you didn't see while you were making it or when you saw it that first time in Sundance?
Well, any movies is the child of its times, I would say, and there is a sense of when the movie comes out, I would say. And also, I think our responsibility is to try to make the best of what we can together. But then the movie is like a person going out in the world. We are proud that the world is a great place for the movie. Great.
And this is not the time we were necessarily expecting to be in, Sundance, pre-election, or sort of while you were making this film, pre-election and whatnot.
Yeah, I won 2 bets on the election.
2 bets?
I lost a bet against him.
What was the bet?
Trump is going to win.
Luca called that shot way before.
But you know why the Americans lost? Because they didn't believe that I believed in it, because Berlusconi won in Italy. So I knew that we were ready for that also here. But America is a great nation.
Yeah. Well, what do you get? What'd you win?
Expensive.
Yeah.
Too expensive.
The idea.
Have you delivered
it's
yet?
your bet. It's your guys' bet.
The bet has morphed for the audience. Don't make bets with Sicilians. Just don't. It started out because I was really confident, and he was also equally confident, that the bet started out if Donald Trump loses, which was my stance, because I was an optimist. If Donald Trump loses, don't clap, he won. If Donald Trump loses, I get to pick any restaurant anywhere in the world, and he has to fly me there first class, put me up for a weekend, meet me there, and treat me to a meal of any restaurant of my choosing. And the flip side of that was he got to pick any restaurant anywhere in the world, and
Kyoto, Japan.
I picked
Trump
picked the
won.
imperial villa of
Yeah.
of the Japan royal family.
Oh my God.
yep.
He knows his way around a location.
It's shifted. The bet has shifted since, no less painfully, but it shifted. We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Michael, it's so interesting talking about this film with people. And every father I know just can't stop talking about the speech. You must know as you're reading that script that is going to be such an important moment in the film. Can you tell a little bit about what that moment in the film means to you and to his character?
I think that one of the revelations is that people have been talking to me about it and letting me know how much it means to them. And it's humbling. It's really humbling. I mean, André Aciman wrote this novel, he wrote this character, and we took most of what we had in the screenplay, I think, from the novel. And that scene comes verbatim, from that. And it's humbling. It's moving and humbling, and I'm grateful to have been the mouthpiece for those words.
It feels like such a delicate moment. There's so many ways for that scene to go wrong. Is there? This is why I love, why I don't understand acting on some levels. I just don't understand how your version of that works versus basically any other version you're going to see. What do you have rules of thumb, Luca, when you're directing a scene?
Well, in growing in the movie making, we had the privilege of shooting in chronologically, and we shot that scene almost at the end. And in growing, basically, I would say the character comes to life instinctively, and the tone and Mr. Perlman is Mr. Perlman in that moment. So, and he's a wonderful man, and that's how he speaks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Honestly, Tim is the inspiration behind it. We're in it together, and I felt a sense of closeness with Tim from the beginning, and he moves me. So we were moved together. So.
Were there moments when carrying a project like, I mean, being on screen this much for this many minutes, this much of a film, being such a troubled piece, is a new thing for you? Are there moments where you felt that weight?
No.
No?
I mean, yes and no. I guess the amazing thing about getting to play a character like Elio is that he's a little, beyond his years to some extent, and well-read, better read than I'll ever be. So, I guess I felt a certain license with the mind of the character, and not to feel too sheepish in that regard.
And I hear that Armie, you and Luca, I read a profile of you recently where you talk about there being sort of a rift at a certain point in the production, where you guys.
What's rift?
Excuse me.
Yeah, where you started to, there was some distance between the two of you, and some conflict toward the end of the shoot. Has that been overplayed, or is that, where was it? You felt betrayed, as if he had moved on to his next project. Is the
by the
quote
way,
that I read.
this is the thing. It's all subjective. I felt that way. He insists that was not the case, and he has his own reasons for, It was, I think, what it ultimately came down to is this was such a special and beautiful experience. The same way watching it, you get to experience it for an hour and 40 minutes. We lived in it for 2 months, like this exact analogous feeling. Like we really lived in it. And when it was all when it became apparent that it was going to end, people had different reactions. And it's because nobody wanted it to end. Everybody wanted this to go on forever, It was just like an incredibly emotionally charged journey for everybody.
We have some questions from Facebook, if we can, I'll bring those along. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Thanks. Yeah, first one's from Mark. Yeah. Charlotte from Facebook asked, the role of the father is crucial in this film. How have your fathers affected your acting styles? The three actors. Yeah, we can bring out a couch.
We wouldn't have enough time.
My father saw me in a play in high school and made a point of telling me that that he felt that that I should do this, and that meant the world to me at the time, and it still does, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I loved it. I just loved it. Yeah, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my amazing parents, and I feel lucky that they've supported me the whole way. How he has affected my acting is that now I feel him in my blood in a way that perhaps I hadn't felt him before. So oddly or not, I hear him in my own voice. I feel him in my body. I share everything I do with him and his spirit.
I'm not going to make you guys try to follow that.
I will not. Yeah.
I want to give man, I wouldn't be acting without my parents. I get the performance instinct from my mom. I get the ability to listen and from my dad. And they're here right now. And Mama, I love you to death. And man, you guys, thank you. I mean,
we have Lauren from Facebook asks, how did you all both use the book as source material and fill in the gaps where there wasn't concrete material to work with in the script?
that's a question for those two, because the book is from my point of view. So.
Yeah, I mean, what Timmy just said is really true. The book is kind of exclusively written from the perspective of the interlocution of Elio. So it's really subjective, which for a character like Oliver, you have to kind of filter everything through the prism of that, because if Oliver came down for breakfast in the morning and sat next to Elio, and asked him about his night, then Oliver was the greatest person. I'm so happy he's here. Like, this is amazing. What an amazing human. But if Oliver came down for breakfast, or came down in the morning and didn't eat breakfast and just walked right out the door, then he was an asshole. I hate him. I hope he dies. I hope he leaves. I never want to see him again. So you have this sort of emotional volatility of a young man infatuated. So for me personally, the original source material, Andre's book, is absolutely incredible and a great piece of literature that everybody should really go read, but it's not the most dependable source of information on Oliver. So there were a few things that I had to glean from it. Specifically, one of the big things that I sort of used to kind of crack the cipher was the line where he says, at the end of the phone call, where he says, you know, you're so lucky that your parents and your dad reacted the way he did. Mine would have sent me to a correctional facility, you know, and that's really kind of the only, I mean, you know that he's Jewish, you know that he's educated and all that, but that really is the only thing that you hear about Oliver's home life. So I had to kind of build everything off of that, which is how I sort of came to the conclusion that the later doesn't really come from, you know, an overabundance of self-assuredness or confidence where he's just like, all right, I'm done with this conversation, later. It's less that and more like it's now just the two of us and we're talking and I'm feeling something that I don't understand and that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And I don't know exactly what kind of effect you're having on me, but I am uncomfortable with this, so I'm out later. And it's more of that, but there's very little kind of clues that you get in the beginning of the book, especially because Oliver's supposed to be this mysterious character that Elio doesn't understand.
Right. And last question for you guys. You know, Luca, you've been talking about a sequel, and I'm starting to get the sense that you're not just joking about it. Can you tell us what you're intended? And I'd like to hear all of you maybe, like, I'm curious, I feel like we all leave this film with a lot of questions about where these people are headed. And I was wondering if you all have questions you might like to pose for such a sequel that might happen.
Questions?
Yeah. What are you curious about?
I think that all of these people in the movie, they carry such insightfulness and capacity of being completely unbiased by cynicism that I'm curious to see what growing up, history, and meeting other people, meeting back together, will carry with them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My only question is Timmy doing it, and is Luca directing it? Is Michael going to be in it? And other than that, I'm in. Yeah.
Call me by your name, too.
Yeah.
Call me by your mother's name.
Okay, I'm out.
We'll end it right there. Thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it.